On a late March night in 2018, 22-year-old Nadia El-Dib spent time with friends in Calgary. It was supposed to be an ordinary evening, a chance to unwind at a downtown shisha bar. In the early hours of the morning, she left with someone she knew well, someone from her past. Hours later, police would be called to a residential neighborhood across the city. Where quiet streets hid a disturbing scene. Investigators quickly realized this was no ordinary crime. Evidence suggested a level of violence far beyond what was usually encountered. The victim's identity was soon confirmed, and attention turned to the man last seen with her. What followed was not only a murder investigation, but a province-wide manhunt that captured national headlines. Over several tense days, law enforcement tracked their suspect across Alberta and prepared for the possibility of a violent confrontation. By the end of the week, the pursuit would come to a dramatic conclusion, involving heavily armed officers and a rural standoff that left more questions than answers. Behind immediate events, a larger story began to emerge. A young woman's life cut short, a relationship that spiraled into danger, and a family determined to reveal the truth. This is a story of how a night out ended and the cost of ignoring the warning signs. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Uncovered, where we examine the cases that shake communities and expose what happens behind closed doors. Real stories, real people, real impact. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Nadia El-Dib was born and raised in Calgary, Alberta. She grew up in a close-knit family that valued strong ties and mutual support. Her parents played an active role in her upbringing, emphasizing education and family connection. She had one sister, Nadia El-Dib, who would later become central to keeping Nadia's memory alive. Accounts from those who knew them described the two sisters as having a strong bond, often seen together at community gatherings and social events. Nadia's education reflected ambition and curiosity. She pursued post-secondary studies with interests that balanced both creativity and practical skills. Reports indicated she had considered paths in business and design, though her career goals were not firmly set. She was at an age where exploration of opportunities was natural, and she was described as eager to define her future. Her personality was noted by friends as outgoing and energetic. She maintained an active social life and was known for enjoying time with peers in Calgary's diverse nightlife scene. She frequently attended shisha bars, cafes, and gatherings with her circle of friends. In addition, she had hobbies that reflected a modern young adult lifestyle: fashion, social media activity, and time spent with family. Community recollections after her death emphasized her positive presence. Friends describe her as confident and sociable, someone who left an impression in everyday interactions. Family members highlighted her role as a supportive daughter and sister. In the wake of her passing, her name became associated not only with her life, but also with the larger conversation surrounding domestic violence in Canada. The man later identified as her killer was Adam Bedahar, a 21-year-old originally from Algeria who had moved to Canada years earlier. Nadia met Adam through mutual acquaintances, and their relationship developed over time. Accounts suggest that it was initially typical of many young adult relationships, with social outings and shared experiences forming the foundation of their connection. Over the course of their involvement, however, troubling patterns began to emerge. Nadia's family later stated publicly that there had been red flags. Friends recalled that Adam displayed controlling tendencies and behavior that raised concerns. Although details of specific incidents were not always disclosed, it was noted that Nadia ended the relationship before March 2018. The breakup appeared to stem from these negative dynamics, including Adam's inability. Her sister Rachel later indicated that Adam's behavior had been unsettling and potentially dangerous. This concern was reinforced by the fact that, despite the end of the relationship, Adam remained present in Nadia's social environment. His persistence became a source of unease among her family and friends. The relationship history, when pieced together through interviews and media reports, paints a picture of a young woman attempting to move forward while a former partner struggled to let go. That tension set the stage for the events of late March 2018. On the evening of March 24th, 2018, Nadia planned a night out with friends. Their destination was a popular shisha bar in downtown Calgary, a venue that attracted a young crowd and was part of her regular social routine. She spent several hours there in the company of her peers, the kind of ordinary Saturday night that would not have raised any alarms. At some point during the night, Adam Betahar appeared at the same establishment. Witnesses confirmed his presence. Despite their breakup, Nadia and Adam interacted and ultimately reconstructed through investigative findings. What is known is that Nadia accompanied Adam, perhaps willingly, perhaps under pressure. The exact nature of their conversation or intentions at that moment is unknown. The next confirmed development occurred in the residential neighborhood of Marlborough Park, located in northeast Calgary. The timeline places Nadia's arrival in Marlborough Park shortly after 3 a.m. The attack was carried out with extreme violence. According to Calgary Police Service and later public disclosures made at the family's request, Nadia was subjected to a combination of assaults, over 40 stab wounds, a slit throat, and 2 gunshot wounds. The brutality of the attack stood out even to seasoned investigators. It was not a quick or singular act, but a prolonged episode of violence. The forensic evidence made it clear that this was an intentional killing carried out by someone with direct access to Nadia. Her body was later discovered behind a residence in the area. A passerby alerted authorities, and police responded to the scene. Investigators documented the physical evidence, which tied directly back to Adam Betahar. The presence of both a firearm and a knife confirmed that he had prepared for multiple methods of assault. Police released an official description of the crime scene that underscored the calculated nature of the killing. Their statements were direct. This was not an accident, nor a random event. It was a deliberate attack, executed in a residential neighborhood where the victim had little chance to escape or call for help. When Nadia El-Dib's body was discovered on March 25, 2018, behind a residence in Calgary's Marlborough Park neighborhood, investigators quickly established the scope of the case. Witness accounts and surveillance footage from earlier that night confirmed that she had been at a downtown shisha bar with friends. The last person seen leaving with her was 21-year-old Adam Betahar, her former boyfriend. This information placed him at the center of the investigation within hours. Police canvassed the area, collected video evidence, and spoke to those who had interacted with Nadia that evening. Early results from the crime scene linked Betahar to the location, and his absence following the discovery of her body raised further suspicion. Based on these findings, the Calgary Police Service publicly identified him as a suspect. The initial manhunt began in Calgary and expanded outward as more information was gathered. Authorities issued a province-wide alert, warning the public that Betahar was considered dangerous and may have been armed. Investigators tracked his movements after murder, noting his disappearance from the city shortly after crime. As the days progressed and he remained at large, police escalated their efforts. On March 27, 2018, a Canada-wide warrant for first-degree murder was issued against Betahar. This step allowed law enforcement agencies across the country to act on information about his location. Media outlets carried the story nationally, and police appealed directly to the public for assistance. News conferences highlighted the urgency of the case, reinforcing that Betahar posed a serious risk to anyone who might encounter him. In the days following the warrant, investigators traced Betahar's movements northward. He had left Calgary and was believed to be traveling through rural Alberta. Intelligence suggested he was attempting to avoid capture by staying outside urban centers. On March 29, 2018, for days after murder, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, located him near Evansburg, west of Edmonton. Officers attempted to initiate a traffic stop, but Betahar fled, resulting in a high-speed pursuit. The chase moved onto rural highways and eventually into isolated terrain. During pursuit, it became clear that Betahar was armed. He was in possession of a semi-automatic rifle, which he used to fire at officers during the standoff. RCMP units, including specialized teams, engaged in a controlled response. The confrontation escalated as Betahar refused to surrender and continued to discharge his weapon. The standoff ended when RCMP returned fire, striking and killing him. The exchange took place in a rural area, away from civilian traffic, but required significant coordination to contain the situation. The incident concluded the manhunt that had stretched across Alberta suffered 2 gunshot wounds. The injuries were consistent with a prolonged and brutal attack. Forensic analysis provided further confirmation of Bettihar's involvement. DNA, physical evidence, and witness accounts all pointed to him as the perpetrator. These details were later made public at the request of Nadia's family, who insisted that the full release a statement outlining these facts, confirming Bettihar's responsibility beyond reasonable doubt. The evidence eliminated any possibility of alternate suspects. The news of Nadia's death spread quickly through Calgary. Vigils and memorials were organized in her honor, drawing attendance from friends, community members, and the general public. Flowers, candles, and photographs were placed at sites associated with her, as people came together to acknowledge the tragedy. Her sister, Nadia El-Dib, spoke publicly on multiple occasions. She emphasized both the depth of the loss and the need for broader awareness of domestic violence. The family's decision to release the autopsy details was rooted in a belief that the community needed to confront the reality of what had happened, without minimizing brutality. Public tributes continued for weeks after the incident. Statements were issued by community leaders, and local organizations highlighted the case as an example of the dangers posed by intimate partner violence. Because Bettihar was killed in the RCMP operation, no criminal trial took place. However, the use of force by police during the March 29 confrontation required independent review. The Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, ASSERT, conducted a full investigation into the shootout. ASSERT's findings concluded that the RCMP officers were justified in their actions. The report emphasized that Bettihar had fired multiple rounds from a semi-automatic rifle and posed a lethal threat to officers. The use of deadly force was deemed necessary to protect both police personnel and the public. With Bettihar's death, the criminal proceedings effectively closed. The focus shifted from prosecution to ensuring public understanding of events and supporting Nadia's family. In 2019, Nadia El-Dib established Nadia's Hope Foundation in memory of her sister. The organization's mission centered on preventing gender-based violence through education and advocacy. Its initiatives included school outreach programs, community workshops, and partnerships with local organizations. Events were organized to raise awareness and funds, ranging from drag shows to self-defense classes. Each activity aimed to engage different audiences while reinforcing the foundation's message, understanding the warning signs of abuse, and fostering healthy relationships. By 2023, the foundation had marked 5 years of operation. A commemoration event was held to celebrate Nadia's life and continue the mission of education and prevention. The foundation had become a recognized voice in Calgary's ongoing conversation about domestic violence. Nadia El-Dib's case fits into a larger pattern of intimate partner violence in Canada. National statistics show that women are disproportionately affected by domestic violence, and that many cases escalate to fatal outcomes. Studies have identified warning signs, such as controlling behavior, isolation, and previous threats that often precede lethal violence. Law enforcement agencies face challenges in preventing such crimes. While protective measures and restraining orders exist, enforcement can be difficult without timely reporting and intervention. Public education campaigns, like those spearheaded by Nadia's Hope Foundation, are seen as crucial to bridging the gap between awareness and action. The case also contributes to the discussion of femicide, a term used to describe the gender-motivated killing of women. Advocates argue that acknowledging femicide as a distinct issue helps clarify the systemic nature of the problem. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.